Okay, let me try and do a quick news update. I already did the teaching video. I'm having problems with the phone, trying to get out of the wind, but my son-in-law's radio is on. Sometimes it picks up the music and says copyright. Hopefully it's low enough. Um, the case, one of the strange cases I wanted to mention, which is actually in the media as of this point, we had a doctor in Corpus Christi who last year was charged with the sexual assault of 5 patients over a period of years. And it was, big case. He was also accused, it looked like he possibly did it, that he targeted one of the prosecutors in his case in their vehicle. That around the county courthouse where the Catholic Cathedral is, I didn't attend today, that he saw one of the prosecutors in this case driving, and the doctor supposedly was drunk and rammed into his vehicle. Later, the prosecutor got the license plate, realized it was like a targeting of a prosecutor. That's a fairly high crime after the other things. But yet, for some reason, this doctor was allowed to be on like house arrest, but he had to have an ankle monitor. And he was allowed to leave his home for his work or things of that nature. And then the last few days, there was an alert that the local law enforcement in Oasis County are asking the public's assistance to find him. And then the Color Times said he also has ties to Peru. I guess he did medical school or he's from Peru. Now, the odds that this doctor was able to cut his ankle brace off, possibly purchase plane tickets to a foreign country, meaning his passport and everything else was not taken, and makes it to the airport if this happened. That's why I checked the news just a minute ago. As far as I know, they didn't catch him. And then he left the country and went to Peru. There were only 2 options there. One is gross incompetence, because if you have an ankle monitor on, the purpose means if you take that off, we're going to come get you. And the time it would have took him to take that monitor off, make it to the airport and do everything else, and then to not be stopped at the airport, I don't understand that. We had a case where somebody flew in and they arrested that person at an airport. And the other thing is the doctor has money. He gave up his medical license, but the other thing is the doctor has cash. So that's the only 2 options you have, either gross incompetence or that. All right? Now, I saw that just by reading the article the last few days. And I know my viewers are smart people. But in the melee of everything else you've seen me talk about, that's stuff that I'm hoping, you think more about various issues. And the other case I want to bring up is I mentioned a wreck I went to in Kingsville as a firefighter, and the vehicle went over like a little bridge, fell off the bridge, but it was being suspended halfway on the ground, but it could have still fallen. And at that scene, I went in and cut the kid out. As I think about it, I think the parents might have died on that wreck. Maybe. But then I noticed today in the Color Times, they're rightfully showing a rescue that the police department did of a young child. And there was a young child, I think, on Brownsville road I've been on before, not recently. And he was locked in the car. And the police had to break a window. Look, that's a very common thing that anybody can do. We used to have what's called a window punch. It's a tool you keep in your emergency kit in case you have to do that, break a window. And I'm glad they did that. But I just felt it funny that they kind of advertised that as a heroic type rescue. The officers did fine. I'm glad but when you're doing an emergency rescue, and my critique in the one I talked about was they didn't want to get in that vehicle of the wreck I went to because it was unstable. It just felt like the media responded. Whether they did or not, I'm glad that the young child was released. As I was talking Mother's Day, I called my mom in New Jersey. I want to stay under another minute. And I had Mother's Day. I don't call my mother that often, so today we talked for a while. And I found it interesting. I'll kid my mom sometimes, and there's political jokes, and she's ultra liberal, so I kid her about like things that she would like. I could, make fun of Trump, if you will, because those would be the jokes she liked. But it was a few things that made me think I'll just do this quick update. All right. Um, whenever I cover issues, you can cover national issues, and I talk about that often. But you can have more of an effect if you're dealing with issues maybe that no one locally is dealing with. And I also am glad that the eyes of other people looking at all these websites and all these blogs and everything else, I'm glad that the names of those that are either questionable about corruption or are known corruption, I'm glad those names made it back into the circulation. Because if Justice Department people and other people look at these things, some of those things I reposted from Patriot Dad, he actually had PDF files, documents, of where he brought charges against various lawyers. He had a lot of 20-year legal battles about child custody issues. That's that side. So that was beneficial for the community to see. And so if we're going to shine light, I think we could have a better effect on shining it here, or shining it on issues where the local media just does not want to cover. So this would be the quick update. I wanted you to look at that doctor case, because there's no reason that man possibly flew to Peru and cutting his ankle bracelet off of his ankle, either unless there was money paid or there was somebody in the system that said, we're going to just write a ticket to Mr. Vinales. The officers in that case that wrote a ticket for unsafe lane change, somebody somewhere got money or something was done wrong. And anybody that looked at that knows. Okay? So that's the update. God bless everybody.